Thank you so much for talking to me today about the new Ballet Black double bill, which is Pioneers. And I know that you choreographed Nina by Whatever Means, which is a brand new piece. I just wanted you to tell us a bit about the piece, if that's okay.
Um, yeah, where do I begin? um, I guess the piece in a way, I've been describing it as a sort of love letter to Nina. Um, and I guess maybe the piece explores parts of her life. You can't really tell somebody's life in about 40 minutes. And I think I decided to focus a little bit more on sort of the journey that led to who we kind of known her for to be. And so it starts off with her as a baby, and we kind of see her grow throughout the work and to become the force that she became. But I think what inspired me about the piece really is just her power. And I think that that's what I still draw, and I hope the piece is about showing how powerful of a voice she was.
And the thing is with Nina, because I didn't know loads and loads about her growing up, but as I got older, I got really into civil rights movement,
Yeah,
and she always used to pop up because I know that she has such a massive involvement, which is a brave thing, especially as like a singer. You kind of sometimes you want to steer away from anything that's going to cause tension with your kind of your art, but she was, she was right up there, kind of pioneering the civil rights. Um,
yeah. I think that's what I found interesting about her. Really, is that she was she was never really involved until she was, and then there
yeah,
was no
yeah,
time,
yeah.
you know. And I was saying to the dancers the other day in the studio about a work that I did a couple of years ago for Ballet Black called Ingoma. uh, I found myself in the work suddenly quite upset at the world. And I never meant to be. I just wanted to share a story. And then I realized throughout trying to make this work that so many things were actually bothering me about how we treated it in society. And how once you get to that place, it's really, really difficult to come back, you know. And so for somebody like her that had a beautiful future in music to suddenly choose to go that path, it was a very brave thing to do.
I 100% agree. It really is. I always find anything where, because the stories never, they sadly they just continue, but it's just different. And so whenever I kind of dig deep into stories of my ancestors, I just that's it. I'm in a deep funk.
Yeah.
Like I really just can't shake it. Like I thought sad for hours and hours just thinking about life. But I think it really is a powerful thing to, create work or just do things when you're in such a difficult situation as Nina is was. And also as you were saying with your piece before, how it made you feel it makes you reflect on everything. With the with Nina, I wanted to kind of understand more about, I know you've kind of touched on it already, but why you or what inspired you initially to go with Nina's story?
um I think, like everybody, I've always loved her music. um and I think I started to reflect on who I am as a person, my deepest, darkest thoughts, and my secrets that people don't know. And I started to think about how when people come to see the work that we do, they don't actually know who we are. And so when I was listening to her music, I found that she was telling us something, about her life. And I felt like I needed to learn a little bit more about what that actually was. Um, and I think through trying to find out what drove her, what kept her going, I think she started to speak to me in a way. Like I started to hear what she was saying all these years, that she felt like no one was listening. And then I sort of started to think, maybe if possible, I would love to share what people don't know. And I don't know if I'll be successful at that or not, but I thought maybe it would be an eye opener for people to know that beyond the music, there was a suffering person, a person that's been trying to tell people that it's not okay. She's not okay. She's having a hard time. Her people are having a hard time, and so I think I can only hope that that the work reflects that a little bit in a way. But yeah, like I said earlier, that I think this piece is more like a love letter. And going back to what I said about her music speaking to me, I think I suddenly wish or hope that I was able to speak to her and just hold her and just say hi, just ask how she's doing. So I think her life and her music and her story and the piece, in a sense, gives me comfort. And I feel like it's just her and I, in a way, when I'm in the process of making the piece. But yeah, I hope that answers the question.
No, definitely. It sounds almost like a beautiful love story of her story, but it's like it just feels very just very beautiful from what you've said, but at the same time also very, there's a lot of, I think with Nina, there's like, as we see her as this, like, amazing woman with a beautiful voice, but with a deep troubled soul.
Yeah.
And I can kind of just imagine that's exactly what we would see from her kind of story.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of similarities that I actually, and every dancer at Ballet Black shares with Nina, is that we spend most of our lives training to be classical ballet dancers, really good classical ballet dancers, and to then live in a world that is not quite accepting of that. And that's basically who she was. She grew up wanting to be a classical concert pianist, and the world was not ready to have her be that, And so I find that interesting, that even to this day, that in a way that the fight that she dedicated her life to still exists in a way. Yeah, so I feel quite emotional about it,
100%. It's crazy to think that was well, even before the 60s. But let's just say from the 30s onwards, the fight was literally to be allowed to just perform classical, beautiful music. And she was rejected so many times for it. And it's the same now, like, as you said, I was reading the other day that only, I think it's 2.2% of ballet dancers in the UK that are in like the main kind of shows are Black. And it just doesn't sit very well with me, because it just makes me think, gosh, what is going on that we still can't have the opportunity to perform classical stuff, whether it's music or dance. There's always some kind of restriction, and it is sad. It is really, really sad. It's a shame.
It really is, because you can imagine how much it restricts people, and who knows what she would have been if those doors were open at that time, But also, equally, I feel maybe she was meant to lead that life, to give us the power and the freedom to be able to speak the way that we do now.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that very much, you know.
Yeah.
Even though it is very sad, I think I appreciate that we have people that have paved the way, even though it may have not been very easy for them. That we're able to
Mhm.
look back and be like, you know what, thank you for that, you know, because now we're able to be at the Barbican for 5 nights and share these stories, you know.
Yeah. And I guess that kind of brings me to my question about what you or how you'd hope um, the piece will impact audience, because it will bring in different generations, and each person, there'll be some people that may have never really heard of Nina or never grown up with Nina. There's going to be some people that know her so very well. What is your kind of hopes for how you want the audience to feel when they leave the auditorium?
Um, I hope people feel empowered after they watch it. Um I hope women are able to watch the work and be able to see a reflection of themselves.
Mhm.
Um and I guess the sheer power that exists in all of us, and just kind of um see that, and hopefully be able to reflect on your own self and where you are in life. Um and I think also just I hope it brings people much closer to Nina. I hope
Mm.
I hope they walk away feeling like they they felt her spirit on stage. Um, and I mean, I'm working with a lot with Isabella about finding who she is as a young Black woman. You know, what does that feel like for her? Like, I try not to tell her many things. She asks me a lot of questions. She's like, "What am I feeling?" I'm like, "I don't know, Della. You tell me how does it feel when Nina say this? How when she says this, how does that make you feel, and how can you portray that? Because it's one thing everything coming from me, but it's another thing having for you to find that inspiration and that power and that fire to and the will to continue, because the work is quite difficult, you know,
Yeah.
like 25 minutes into the piece you can't breathe, but you still have another 15 minutes to go. And so people lived that life, you know, she lived that life even when it seemed like there was no tomorrow. She still stood on that stage and she played the music. She sang what she felt from the heart, you know. At any point in her life she could have been taken, you
Yeah.
know, but she was able to stand there and be like, whatever it is, I will do it.
Yeah.
And so I hope that brings that it ignites a bit of fire into people. I
I'm
hope.
sure it will. Well, listen, if there's like reports of her music goes up in downloads, you know why it's from your piece. Because even I, just the other day, I thought, do you know what? I feel so inspired to listen to something from Nina. So I had to just download her song Young, Gifted and Black. And it gave me such a good boost for the whole day. I
Yeah.
felt like a young, gifted Black woman. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think also to that point, for me, what became very important in the piece, that I wanted to use less of her music as much as possible, so that you see her, you see her life reflected on stage, you see the power that she had reflected on stage. And when you go away and you listen to her music, you start to visualize all those things we were saying, rather than letting her music tell her story. I think that's been the difficult part for me as well, is how do we pull that off? How do we share her story without dragging people? I didn't want it to be the greatest hits of Nina Simone, you know. I wanted the story to so yeah, I hope, like it did to you, that you know you heard her name, you see her image on stage, and it just makes you want to visit her again. So I hope that's what it will be.
Yeah, definitely. I think it will. I really do. And just in regards to for you, because I know you not only are you a choreographer, but as you were saying before, you are a dancer at Ballet Black and you're trained in classical ballet. You have like so many different talented hats. What, and this is going to be a tricky one because I'm sure you most probably love them both the same, or maybe not, but which medium do you prefer? Do you feel like you prefer to create movement or do you enjoy being a dancer?
Um, I love dancing a lot, and if I can, I would love to dance for as long as possible. But I think for my well-being, I I prefer to dance because I I can control that. I can control my emotion. And the difficulty about creation is that you depend a lot on other people's energy. And then that's where the passion and the fire definitely is there. Um, but there's a lot of energy management that comes with it as well. And sometimes it can be quite unnecessary to feel stressed out about something. Whereas if I dance, I can dance the stress out. But if I'm working with people that are already stressed out, I can't really do anything about it, you know. So it's a double-edged sword, but at the same time, when you're able to push through in all those ups and downs that the day bring, and you're able to create work that is beautiful and has a strong message that we can share to people, and then that becomes very fulfilling to see something like that come together. But yeah, I think just day to day, just for my well-being, I like to be in charge of myself.
Do you know what? I think that's the best way. It's all about keeping your well-being on top
Yeah.
rather than anything else. What is it like to see your work come to life on stage? Because I can imagine it, you have so many ideas in your brain. So like I love writing and sometimes I create all these stories in my head. But then when I kind of see them on the paper, it's completely different. So I know it must be so different when you see things on stage versus in your brain. What's it like to see it come to life?
There are moments where I sit there and I'm like, I actually can't believe I made this. But you know what, this is interesting actually, because I had this conversation like this not so long ago about how fulfillment is such a strange thing, especially when you have so many ideas and so many things that you want to achieve. It's very easy to overlook achievements that are happening at present. And I find this a lot with my work, is that I'm happy with the work, but I have to move on. I have to continue working. And so I never really quite appreciate the way that I hope that I should be appreciating the work that I've managed to produce. And I think sometimes that comes with the imposter syndrome thing, when you're like, am I even good at it, or is this one just luck? You know, I've made like at least 20 pieces in my life, but every time I'm like, I can't do it. I'm not, I don't know. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I feel nothing. But I think the happiest is when I see the people I work with excel. And when they feel fulfilled, it's never really that much about what the work looks like. It's about the people that I work with. That's the one thing I care the most about. If they're able to go on stage and feel like they're doing what they want and wish to be doing, and it makes them happy and it makes them sad, and they can use the work to heal themselves, that's for me, that's success, you know, because those people will be able to live on and continue to work hard. So that's what I strive for anyway. And I hope that the audience can come and see the work, but on top of it, see the humans that are in the work and appreciate them for who they are.
100%.
Yeah.
No, that's really nice. I think that's a really nice way of how you want your work to kind of inspire not only the audience, but also make a massive impact on the dancers as well, which is, yeah, that's really nice. Yeah. One thing I noticed about your, as well, for Nina, for the Nina piece, is the movements are a lot more core, a lot more kind of, not like, I don't know if my terminology is going to be absolutely horrific, but I know like what I assume in ballet, it's always very kind of upright, very kind of strict movements, whereas this seems a lot more kind of deep in the soul.
Yeah.
And I guess I just wanted to know what made you want to step away from the traditional upright movements.
So actually in the piece we have how many genres of dances? We have about 4 or 5 styles that help tell the story. The beginning is a church, so it's very like a spiritual dance, and it's really very much about the music and being transcended to a place where it's kind of like the music almost drives you insane. So it's very much about the celebration. And we sort of start to see young Ninas learn the piano. And so instead of making people sit down and do piano lessons, I decided to use the classical form, the ballet classical form, to illustrate that she was learning classical music. And so it goes from the spiritual dance to suddenly very classical, which is quite upright, and then it moves into soft jazz, and it moves into like a mixture of contemporary and ballet, and it gets insane. So I think the section you've seen is the one where it's quite visceral. And it's yeah. So I'm using all these different ways that I'm hoping that tell a different part of her story and a different part of her life where she was, and really in a way try to physicalize her life's journey, and I think that's what's been difficult, is like what does that look like physically, you know? How would you show classical music in movement form? How do you show the civil rights movement in music in physical form, you know? And so all of those questions that they keep popping up in my head, like how would I approach this? How do I show strong leadership? And how do I, so it constantly shifts a lot. And I think that's the biggest challenge as well for the dancers. Like sometimes they don't even know who they are. The next thing they're cool jazz people in the bar, and then the next thing they know somebody's Martin Luther King. Yes, it's a lot.
You know what? Even though there's so many different things going on, for me, I just think it sounds super exciting, because as someone that doesn't always watch loads and loads and loads of dance, I tend to watch a lot of plays, but when I do watch dance, I love to see variety. And I think that's something that people will see in this piece is huge variety, because there's like so many different types of dancing. There's even the fact that, as you were saying, like you're using your, it's not a concert, so we're not going to be having to listen to Nina's greatest hits. Instead, we get to like see her live, her story, which is such a important, I think, a really important story for not just for Black people, but for everybody, because she wanted change that would affect everybody in a positive way.
Yeah, but I think also the choice of having all these physical forms of these different ways of moving is to show how much we have to adapt throughout life. You know, like in for her instinct, she wanted to be the first Black classical concert pianist, and that's what she was training for. And so you show that, and then you start to see when she suddenly moved to New York, you're like, okay, well, you have to adapt to that. What does that experience bring to your life? And so the way that you move and the way you carry yourself starts to change. And you suddenly start to meet all these great people, and you start to hear a lot about the civil rights movement, and you get involved in that, and that changes the way that you write, the way you perform, and suddenly you're somebody different. And so I really wanted to hone into that and show that in physically how do we switch and change our ways as we go. So it's much more than just choosing different styles of movement. It's more about using movement to enhance her story on her journey that she went through. And in return, it highlights how versatile ballet Black dancers are, you know.
They have skills, like amazing skills, that they can just adapt and take on all sorts of different, whatever you throw at them, I'm sure they can do.
Yeah. And again, it's that thing. It's like, you know, if they close one door, we're gonna kick another one open. And so that's the power and the fire that I appreciate so much about people like Nina, is that whatever was thrown at them, they were able to just continue and continue. And so I think that translates in who we are now, you know.
No, I honestly, I genuinely cannot wait to watch it at the Barbican, because I just think it's going to be amazing. I have some very quick fire questions for you. So these, whatever comes to your top of your brain. The first one is your favorite dance space. So it could be either somewhere that you performed or somewhere you've watched something, but where have you been that you said, okay, actually, I really like this place?
I have to say maybe the Barbican, actually.
Okay. Why the Barbican?
There's something about the way the space is made. It's big, but it's intimate at the same time. It's very strange. The way it's laid out. The stage is amazing. It's big, and the auditorium is big, but you never feel too far away from them. Yeah, it's a great space.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's very cool as well, because there's so much kind of going on in the building. It's massive as well. So yeah, that's a really good one.
And the sound system is good. The sound system is good.
That's what you need.
I hate terrible sound system.
But I mean, there's nothing worse than having a sound where it's just not good enough. And you need that especially for something like Nina, you really need the sound to be doing its thing, for sure. What's your favorite dance show that either you've been in or that you've watched?
Favorite dance show? It will be, I think, Betroffenheit by Crystal Pite and Jonathan Young. It's a work she did a couple of years ago, and it was at Sadler's Wells. It's the best thing anyone has ever created. That's all. That's all. Yeah, it's just brilliant.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna try and see if I can find a recording of it because
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Actually, as a writer, I think you really really love it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'll definitely have to check it out for sure. Your dream guest, so someone that you'd love to see the double bill, and they could be dead or alive.
Oh, it would have to be Nina, of course. I would have loved to meet her. I would love to be in her presence.
Mm, mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be lovely. If she could just turn up there, that would be
Yeah.
amazing. What has been your proudest career moment to date?
Um, Career moment. It's not really a career moment. It's more just the proudest moment I've felt was when I watched my brother perform in Holland. I went to see him, and it was yeah, it was just the most beautiful thing in
Was
the
he
world.
does he dance, your brother?
Yeah, he dances for the National Ballet of Canada.
Oh wow, okay. So you guys are
Yeah, yeah,
a double force, two of
yeah,
you. That's amazing. I'm sure
yeah,
you felt proud as well.
yeah. And I think that's the one moment I've truly ever been just present.
Mm,
And I think it goes back to that thing I was saying earlier. Like, yes, I've won some awards, which is amazing, and you think that's the proudest, but you know, the work continues to go. Um, but I think there was just something about being there after I hadn't seen him for many years, and I was just, yeah, I was just present, and it was beautiful.
that's nice. And
Yeah.
my last quick fire question for you is the person who's had the greatest impact on your career.
Uh, my mother for sure.
Oh, that's
You
nice.
know, funny enough, she has no idea to what capacity my career actually is, but she plays a big part in it. Um, and I found it. I always find it so incredible that from the beginning, when I told her that we were doing ballet, she just said, as long as you're fed and you are happy, you are well looked after, you'll be good. And dance has always done that for me. You know,
Mm,
it has kept me safe, and it has brought me to where I am today. Um, and without somebody like her believing in something that I truly wanted to do, and she saw the gift, and she never pulled me back from it. I think that's something I truly admire, and I hope that I can have that much belief when I have children, you know, and just believe what they love will take
yeah,
them where they go.
100%. I'm sure I'm most certain you will. I think it's always lovely when you have like when your parents are just your biggest kind of your support, like your rock. I think it's an
Yeah,
amazing thing. I think it kind of it grounds you and helps you along the path, even if they don't quite know what you're doing. It's just
yeah,
knowing that they are thinking of you. I think is really a special thing. So yeah.
yeah.
No.
Actually, you know, going back, maybe can I? Maybe I would love for my mom to be left. Yeah,
Because you've chosen one, so you've chosen your mum and Nina. That's a good duo, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah,
And they can
yeah.
chat in the interval.
Easy.
No, that'll be brilliant. Thank you so much for talking to me. And I generally cannot wait to watch the double bill. I know it's going to be awesome. And I'm sure loads of people will have so many nice things to say afterwards. I'm sure you will inspire not just the dancers, but us all. So thank you.
Thank you very much.